Africa now and in the future? What contributions are the higher education institutions in Africa making to address the challenges of COVID-19? How would African higher education mainstream e-learning on the continent? It is in the context of these important questions that AAU is organizing the 2021 General Conference under the theme, The Future of African Higher Education. The aim of the 2021 General Conference is to draw attention of all, with particular reference to higher education institutions in Africa, to what the future portends for higher education in Africa within and post-COVID era, especially in these trying times, to highlight inadequate funding of higher education and the emergence of an exceptional move to mainstream online virtual e-learning in response to the global pandemic. The 2021 General Conference will discuss, among other things, strategies on higher education institutions with a view to ensuring an effective, relevant, and efficient answers to the future of higher education on the continent. The 6 sub-themes of the conference, which are in some sense cross-cutting and overlapping, reflect the strategic objectives of the continental education strategy for Africa and the general direction of the current AAU strategic plan. Ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome to our virtual General Conference 2021. On this note, I would like to hand over to the chair of the opening session, and that is the president of AAU, Professor Orlando Antonio Quilambo. Professor Quilambo was born in Mozambique, obtained BA in the Faculty of Education at the Eduardo Mondlane University. He obtained his PhD in Natural Sciences at the Department of Plant Biology, University of Groningen in the Netherlands. Professor Quilambo was the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs from 2005 to 2011 at his university, making a great contribution for the formulation of research policy and scientific journal at the university. In 2009, he was elected the president of the Academy of Sciences of Mozambique. And since 2011, he became the vice chancellor or the rector of the prestigious public university of Mozambique, Eduardo Mondlane University. Professor Quilambo has coordinated several programs and research projects, and he has published extensively in various journals, and he has contributed in writing various book chapters and a book. Professor Quilambo is currently the president of AAU. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite Professor Orlando Antonio Quilambo to chair the session of the opening session of this conference. Professor Quilambo, you are most welcome, sir.
Good morning, Professor Mba. Thank you very much for this kind presentation. In this first session, opening ceremony, we will have a speech by the SG. We'll have another speech by the Honorable Minister of Education of Ghana. And then we will have a speech from His Excellency Professor Sarah, Commissioner for Human Resources, Science and Technology in the African Union. We are not going to have the presentation by the European Commission representative as it started in some programs. So this is the program for this opening ceremony. I will start with my welcoming remarks. The Honorable Minister of Education of the Republic of Ghana, representing His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Your Excellencies, past and present ambassadors and high commissioners assigned to various countries all over the world, members of the diplomatic corps, government representatives from various countries, the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities, Professor Tian Ohile, and all AAU governing board members, past and present, vice chancellors, pro-vice chancellors, presidents, rectors, and other institutional heads gathered here, distinguished African academics from diaspora, colleagues from various African higher education institutions, senior executives and representatives from development partners, captain of the industry, international higher education experts and consultants, invited guests, distinguished participants, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. On behalf of the governing board of the Association of African Universities, I warmly welcome you all to the first ever virtual conference of the association since its establishment. Hosting the 15th Quadrennial General Conference virtual was necessary due to the restrictions on the mobility imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and most importantly, the need to ensure the safety of the participants. I am particularly pleased that we have all shown true leadership and commitment to the AU by joining us here today and for the rest of the week as we hold critical discussions on the conference theme, the future of higher education and its corresponding sub-teams. I extend the AU's profound gratitude and appreciation to all our members, partners, and governments for supporting us and working closely with us to implement the key resolutions and action points agreed upon at our last General Conference held physically in Ghana in 2017. Our special recognition and appreciation go to the government, the people of the Republic of Ghana, for hosting us once again and demonstrating unflinching support and commitment to the AAU and general to higher education in Africa in many ways. Your Excellencies, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the world today is moving at a remarkable fast pace due to the technological advancement and the rapid transformation of other key sectors of the global economy. Higher education, for instance, has seen an exceptional shift move to the mainstream online and e-learning modes of learning. This has been propelled by the COVID-19 pandemic, which is revolutionizing digital and online education globally. However, many African education institutions are lagging behind as they are not well equipped to adapt or transition to these new changes in the sector. The advent of the pandemic in Africa, therefore, raised concern on its impact on the educational system in Africa in terms of resilience to different forms of instability, adaptability to unpredictable changes, flexibility of educational policies, institutional leadership, quality teaching and learning, infrastructural adequacy, financial sustainability, research capabilities, and effective networking. What does the future portend for higher education in Africa within and in the post-COVID era? It is my hope that this virtual gathering of intellectuals, both from the continent and beyond, will proffer guidelines and will discuss and hold conversations around the main theme and sub-themes of this 15th General Conference. It is worth noting that the team also has its firm roots in the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, CESA, 2016-2025, and the AAU Strategic Plan 22-2025. Excellency, distinguished guests, all of us need to work together to surmount the real changes hindering the growth and the relevance of Africa's institution of higher education for continental relevance within a global competitive environment. We have been ushered into an era that will determine our destiny, and as a continent and as a people with a common heritage. Our education and training systems are anxious for the continent's socioeconomic development, and as academic and researchers, policymakers, development partners, private sector collaborators, civil service organizations, policy think tanks, and other stakeholders, our joint efforts will build Africa's educational system to be solution-oriented, and the most so after the continent citizens for the foreseeable future. At the AAU, we are dedicated and committed to working with all partners, including the main and sub-regional associations such as the Southern Africa Regional University Association, SARUA, the Inter-University Council for East Africa, ICE, the African and Malagasy Council for Higher Education, the Association for Arab Universities, the Association of West African Universities, to move Africa higher education to its rightful place in the society to improve on its competitiveness at a global stage. We acknowledge the work done by these bodies and the regional levels to complement what AAU is addressing at the continental level. Ladies and gentlemen, this happens to be the last time I'm joining the AAU General Conference in the capacity of the President of AAU Governing Board. Therefore, I wish to thank you all for the support extended to the board members and myself during our tenure, and I assure you that we will continue to avail ourselves to serve the association to remain staunch as ambassador of AAU. I welcome you once again to this conference and kindly request you to fully participate in the both scientific and business sessions. Thank you very much for your attention. And muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Professor Kilambo. Because you are the chair, I would like to hand over to you now to chair the remaining parts of the morning session. But just to say that our technical team have some announcement to make. I would like to invite Ms. Nodumo Dlamini to give a brief speech before we continue. Madam Nodumo, over to you, please.
Highly supported by our media partner, University World News Africa, we are very grateful.
Hi, Professor Ba, could you kindly unmute?
Okay, thank you very much. On this note, I'd like to invite Professor Kilambo to chair the remaining part of this morning session by inviting the other speakers in accordance with the program that we all have. Professor Kilambo, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Mba. I will invite now the SG of the AAU. Professor Etienne Ehile is an Ivorian national and a renowned physiologist. He was the former director de cabinet or deputy minister on the Ministry of Health and Public Hygiene in Côte d'Ivoire. He was the president of the University Abou Adjamé, now University Nangui Abrogua, Côte d'Ivoire, from 2001 to 2010. Shortly prior to taking office as a Secretary General of the Association of African Universities in August 2011. Professor Yil has been a member of the AAU Governing Board since 2005. He obtained his first degree from the University of Abidjan in 1974, and his PhD in physiology with honors in 1978 from the University of Aix-Marseille III in France. He has published more than 50 scientific papers in various regional and international scientific journals from 1978 to 1978. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the SG of AAU.
Professor Hille.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Professor Kilambo. The Honorable Minister of Education of the Republic of Ghana, representing His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, government representative from various countries, the president of the governing board of the Association of African Universities, Professor Orlando Ilambo, and all AAU governing board members, past and present, vice chancellors, pro-vice chancellors, president, rectors, and other institutional heads gathered here, distinguished African academics from the diaspora, colleagues from various African higher education institutions, senior executives and representatives from development partner organizations, captains of industry, international higher education experts and consultants, invited guests, distinguished participants, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I am delighted to warmly welcome you all to the 15th General Conference of the Association of African Universities, in which is also embedded another important statutory event on the AAU's calendar, the 21st Conference of Rectors, Vice Chancellors, and President of African Universities, Quadrennial. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to add my voice to that of the AAU President in commending you all for joining us here this week on this platform created by the Association of African Universities for us to deliberate on the future of higher education in Africa and to share our perspective as well as our expectations. Indeed, higher education plays a critical and central role in our world today as before, and will continue to take on an even magnified role tomorrow. No nation can embark on a path of sustainable growth and development without anchoring these on a resilient and a responsive high.
Professor SG, we lost you. There is something wrong with your connection.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, since our last meeting in Accra in 2017, I am proud to say that the AAU has chalked significant milestone born out of the goodwill, cooperation, and hard work of the various stakeholder groups, including our membership and partners who work closely with the AAU on a regular basis. Notable among them, we established the AAU television in 2018 to showcase African scholarly works and to generally improve on the visibility of our institutions. We established regional offices in East Africa, North Africa, and in North America, in line with our decentralization strategy of getting closer to our member universities on the continent and with Africans in the diaspora. We have continued to build the capacity of African universities to deliver a globally competitive education through our various capacity building workshops and through our involvement in projects and programs such as the African Center of Excellence for Development Impact, the Science Granting Council Initiative, the Harmonization of African Higher Education, Quality Assurance and Accreditation Initiative, and the Demography of African Faculty project, among several others. Now, I am shifting to French. Distingués participants, mesdames et messieurs, ce jour marque le début des 4 prochaines années dans la vie de l'Association des universités africaines, avec l'espoir de vous accueillir à nouveau avec fierté en 2025 lors de la prochaine conférence générale quadriennale de l'association. Guidé par notre plan stratégique qui a bénéficié des contributions de vous tous pour des sessions d'engagement à grande échelle des parties prenantes, surtout lors de Corevip 2019 au Caire, nous sommes sûrs de vous faire un rapport conséquent de nos réalisations nos réalisations clés de lors de notre prochaine réunion. Le plan stratégique vise un certain nombre d'effets et de résultats stratégiques à atteindre d'ici 2025, notamment entreprendre un plaidoyer fondé sur des preuves pour assurer un environnement politique favorable et la priorité de l'enseignement supérieur au niveau national, régional et continental. Renforcer les capacités institutionnelles des établissements d'enseignement supérieur membres et de l'AUA afin de remplir nos mandats respectifs. Harmoniser et standardiser l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique pour améliorer la collaboration interinstitutionnelle, le réseautage et la compétitivité. Initier des mécanismes de financement durable pour l'AUA et mobiliser des ressources financières suffisantes, entre autres. Nous savons qu'avec le soutien de vous tous, vous, nos membres et nos partenaires, la réalisation de ces objectifs stratégiques est à portée de main. L'AUA a toujours reconnu l'importance fondamentale de la contribution et du rôle joué par les parties prenantes de l'enseignement supérieur africain pour maintenir la vitalité de l'association et soutenir la réalisation de notre objectif commun. À cet égard, je voudrais remercier spécialement toutes nos institutions membres, nos partenaires de développement et le gouvernement africain pour leur soutien continu à l'association au fil des ans. Distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, nos discussions de cette semaine porteront sur des sujets clés tels que l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après le Covid-19, les contributions des institutions d'enseignement supérieur africaines pour relever les défis liés à la pandémie du Covid-19 et pour atteindre les objectifs de développement durable, le financement des institutions d'enseignement supérieur africaines face à une économie imprévisible, l'intégration de l'apprentissage en ligne et fracture numérique, ainsi que les contributions de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain. Je vous invite donc tous à participer pleinement et à vous engager dans les sessions de discussion. Mesdames et messieurs, au terme de mon propos, permettez-moi de vous assurer une fois de plus que l'Association des universités africaines s'engage à jouer pleinement son rôle stratégique dans la réalisation de la grande vision d'un enseignement supérieur renforcé et mondialement compétitif pour l'Afrique. Dans le contexte, le projet des centres de l'Alliance d'Afrique pour l'impact du développement, CA Impact, un signal fort en direction de cet objectif majeur. Nous continuerons à nous assurer que le secteur de l'enseignement supérieur africain contribue de manière substantielle à la réalisation des objectifs des politiques tels que l'agenda 2063 de l'Union africaine, la stratégie continentale de l'éducation pour l'Afrique, la stratégie de la science, la technologie et de l'innovation pour l'Afrique et l'agenda global 2030 des objectifs de développement durable, entre autres, pour le bénéfice du bon peuple d'Afrique et du monde en général. Sur cette note d'espoir, je vous souhaite une fois de plus la bienvenue à la 15e conférence générale de l'Association des universités africaines et enfin, je nous souhaite à tous de fructueuses sessions de délibération. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, on the program, we have a speech by the Honorable Minister, but the information reaching AAU is that the Honorable Minister will officially open the conference on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. As a result of this, a technical officer at the ministry, Dr. Nkansa, will, in the place of the Honorable Minister, now make a brief speech to welcome participants to the virtual conference of AAU. So, Mr. Chair, on your behalf, we invite Dr. Nkansa to make a brief speech before we continue.
Thank you, Professor Mba. Yes, please go ahead.
Dr. Nkansa, over to you. Dr. Nkansa. Mr. Chair, if it's not responding, we may, in the interest of time, we can move to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mba. It's now my honor to introduce His Excellency Professor Sarah Agbo. She hails from Cameroon and is the African Union Commissioner for Human Resources, Science and Technology, elected in 2017. Before being elected, she was the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of research, cooperation, and relations with the business world at the University of Bamenda, Northwest region of Cameroon. As DVC LCB, she promoted research efficiently and effectively managed the university education research programs, as well as oversaw initiative and action plans in the university research strategic planning. She has served as Inspector of Academic Affairs #1 at the Ministry of Higher Education, Cameroon. His Excellency Professor Sarah Agbo has represented the Cameroonian Minister of Higher Education in several capacities. Professor Sarah Anian Agbo is a professor of African Commonwealth literatures and has authored 3 textbooks and over 30 peer-reviewed books, chapters, and scientific publications. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome His Excellency Professor Sarah Agbo.
Thank you very much, Prof. Chair. Thank you very much. Professor Orlando Quilambo, the AAU President and Vice Chancellor, Eduardo Motley University, Mozambique, distinguished Vice Chancellors here present in your different ranks and files, the AAU Secretary General, I'm sorry, I should have started with the President of Ghana, represented here by the Honorable Minister of Education of Ghana, Excellencies here present, education stakeholders, I bring you warm and fraternal greetings from the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency, Dr. Musa Faki Mahamat, and I also extend sincere gratitude to the AAU Executive and the Secretariat for organizing this 15th Quadrennial General Conference of African University Leaders virtually from today to the 8th of July 2021 under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Indeed, the conference theme, the future of higher education in Africa, is very timely. I applaud all the African academics of the Ivory Tower who have decided to work under this topic to share their scientific and research information on the theme, and also give us the opportunity to share best practices with policymakers and strengthen our networking among African higher education institutions. Significantly, we cannot overemphasize the role that the Association of African Universities is playing in coordinating the activities
من خلال المشاركة في
of
الأنشطة
higher education.
في القارة الأفريقية.
Sorry, if you are not speaking, please mute your mic. Mute your mic, please, if you are not speaking. Sorry, Your Excellency. Continue.
Distinguished participants, Excellency, COVID-19 has exposed and further weakened the already weak social and economic systems and risks reversing gains made over the last decade concerning education. Economic growth is not keeping up with population growth and unmet needs, reinforcing the need to act innovatively and with speed and at scale. Aspiration 6 of the African Union Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, speaks of an African whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. By 2063, Africa will be a continent where all citizens will be actively involved in decision-making in all aspects of development, including social, economic, political, and environmental. Africa will be a continent where no child, woman will be left behind. But for this to take place, education must be consolidated. Education must be reimagined to achieve these aspirations. And education cannot wait. And education is important in the process of post-pandemic recovery. That is why I applaud this theme, the future of higher education in Africa. To fulfill this promise of a bright future, the continent has to come to terms with its education and training systems. And this will fully shed weight on what we do, how we do it. If we speak of Agenda 2063, that Africa that is integrated, prosperous, and peaceful, driven by its own competent and skilled citizens, able to play in the world arena or in the global arena. How can we consolidate this without investing in education? How can we consolidate it without quality education that drives competencies and skills for our demographic dividend, which is Africa, the youth of Africa, where we have a youthful population? It is in this wise that we must be able to work towards a futuristic education system. We need to reimagine education in such a way that we build the necessary competencies and skills, empowering and capacitating the youth of Africa in the world of work or in the future of work. When we speak of education, education needs to be reimagined. Education needs to be consolidated because we need qualification.
We lost the connection with His Excellency Sarah Agbo. Can you assist us in reconnecting, please? Is someone who can assist us in reconnecting His Excellency Sarah Agbo?
Are you hearing me now?
Yes,
yes,
we can.
now we are. Thank you very much.
It's network. Okay. Now, to be able to achieve the goals of ending poverty, inequalities of income and opportunity, job creation, especially addressing youth unemployment, facing up to the challenges of rapid population growth and urbanization, improvement of habitats, and access to basic necessities of life, whether it is water, sanitation, electricity, providing social security and protection, it is in the ambit of education. To have well-educated citizens and skills revolutions underpinned by science, technology, and innovation, developing Africa's human and social capital through an education and skills revolution emphasizing science and technology. That is why the future of higher education in Africa becomes prominent. So all this can only be achieved by quality, focused, visionary education. Once more, I applaud the AAU
I will inform.
For organizing this 2021 General Conference with this theme, the future of African higher education. I will want to join my voice to also congratulate all the different organs, to congratulate you for all the different organs you have established. Thank you for building African universities through different initiatives and strategies. And thank you for being a partner in the higher education cluster of the Continental Education Strategy for Africa. You have been a worthy partner to work with. And as Africa's ongoing transformation is taking place, we can only achieve the vision of the Africa we want by working together for a better Africa, for the youth of Africa to produce quality, competent, skilled youth for the Africa that we want. So with this, I will want to end my opening remarks to congratulate the President of Ghana for participating with us in this journey and to appreciate all the stakeholders who have joined to make sure that this 15th Quadrennial General Conference of African University Leaders actually take place. Congratulations, executive and members of the Association of African Universities. Together, we are stronger. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Sarah Agbod, for these enlightening words today for the Association of African Universities and all the participants.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please. Yes, Professor Mba.
Dr. Nkansa is now ready to speak. The person who's supposed to speak on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Education to give a brief speech.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Nkansa, go ahead.
No, this is Dr. Aduchun, Minister for Education.
Oh.
Prof, you will open it. Dr. Aduchun will open the conference.
Okay. This is just a brief remark. I want to welcome you to this event. Okay. His Excellency Commissioner for Human Resources, Science and Technology of the African Union Commission, Her Excellency, the former African Union Permanent Rep to USA, His Excellency ECOWAS Commissioner for Education, the President of Association of African University, distinguished past and current members of the Governing Board of AAU, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished Vice Chancellors, academics from the diaspora, esteemed development partners of higher education in Africa, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to welcome you to this event. AAU in Ghana has been part of the fabric of socio-economic transformation of our dear nation through education. Higher education, of course, is a very critical component of what you do to transform your fortunes as a nation. You know, in the 1980s, we were told that higher education was not so critical. We should put our emphasis on basic education, primary school, junior high school, and once you do that, everything will be fine. Then we came to realize that, in fact, that is not the case. Countries that have focused on higher education have, in fact, seen the fruits of it in various ways. And now there's a wake-up call for us to ensure that higher education is given the prominence that it deserves. We know around the world that countries that have transformed themselves, you can look at their gross tertiary enrollment ratio, and you can see a direct correlation between that and their socioeconomic transformation status. If you look at Africa, the average is around 7%. That will not bring about the socioeconomic transformation that we want. In Ghana, we have a gross tertiary enrollment ratio of 18.8%. is way below what we want to see. The president has directed, therefore, in Ghana, that we grow our gross tertiary enrollment by 40% by 2030. So we are working hard on it. As the new Minister for Education, I've taken that mandate seriously. We're doing everything possible to ensure that we can get to the gross tertiary enrollment ratio of 40% by 2030, because we know without revamping our tertiary education system, without producing the young men and women with the requisite tertiary education skills and right skills, in especially the STEM fields, we will not be able to transform our fortunes of our nation. So we are therefore pleased to have the AAU leading this charge, and Ghana, the government of the Republic, the head of the country, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, is with you. AAU, we trust your leadership, and we're going to be with you, support you, as you also guide us in supporting us to get to the role that we have set for ourselves, and to get us to that space where we can get the 40% gross tertiary enrollment ratio by 2030. Thank you to all the participants, and I welcome you to this important conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Atun, Honorable Minister of Education of Ghana, for welcoming us to this virtual conference. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister, Dr. Yao Educhun, will be formally introduced during the official opening ceremony. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have come to the first part of our opening ceremony. Now we go to the goodwill message. Professor Mba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. According to the program, ladies and gentlemen, the goodwill messages are coming from 14 institutions. So as we call the names, then we give them chance to give their goodwill messages. And those that are not, those that were able to send their video messages will be, the messages will be accordingly. So the first on the list, Mr. Chair, is His Excellency Professor Khalid Abdel Jaffer, the Honorable Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Egypt. He has a goodwill message for the participants.
Thank you, Professor. Go ahead.
Professor Kila, it's a recording.
Okay.
Yes, let's play it. Let's play the recording.
Hello, Prof. Could we kindly go to the next? We are working on his
okay. Okay, the next is the Honorable Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Sudan. Is the speech ready? If it's not ready, then we go to the next one in the interest of time.
Hi, everybody. Professor Etini Hill, Secretary General of the Association of the African Universities, Professor Orlando Ulambo, President of the Association of the African Universities, His Excellency Professor Yao Educhun, Honorable Minister of Education in Ghana, Her Excellency Professor Sarah Ajbour, Commissioner of Human Resources, Science and Technology, the African Union, Excellencies, representatives of the African Universities, and representatives of our partners, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure for me to join you today in the 15th Quadrennial General Conference of the African University Leaders under the title of The Future of Higher Education in Africa. It's also quite pleasant that this conference is under the patronage of His Excellency, the President of Ghana, which reminds me with the first statement by His Excellency, the President of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first President of the African Union in the 24th of May 1963. And he clearly said, "We shall accumulate," I'm quoting, "we shall accumulate machinery and establish steel works, iron foundries and factories. We shall link the various states of our continent with communications. We shall astound the world with our hydroelectric power. We shall drain marshes and swamps, clear invested areas, feed the undernourished, and rid our people of parasites and diseases. It is within the possibilities of our science and technology to make even the Sahara bloom into a vast field with verdant vegetations for agricultural and industrial developments. This means that we are thinking about how much education will change the African and improve its social and economic growth. In the last few years, we were able to establish an enabling environment for higher education landscape and science and technology and innovation ecosystem. In the last couple of years, due to the pandemic, which was a challenge for all world nations, we as Africans took consolidated steps towards digital transformation and developed very secure and professional education system online that enables for education, lecturing, exams, and all interaction between university staff and students. This system is also an enabler for higher level of communication and interaction between all the key players of our education. The learning lesson of this exercise that we have the resources, we have the brains, and we have the goodwill. So why not we think out of the box and improve our education, science, and technology ecosystem to fill in the gaps and bloom up our continent economy. Egypt is a member of the 10th Champion African States for leading in education, science, and technology and developing strategies that empower Africa in education, science, and technology for the new digital era. One of the main challenges for Africa in education is allocating appropriate budget. We have in Egypt taken steps toward achieving the budget of 6% of the Egyptian GDP for education and 1% of our GDP for scientific research. I would say that this is achievable, and I'm sure most of the African member states able to do that. However, as education leaders, we have to show off how much this investment in education and scientific research will contribute back to the development of the socio-economic and improve our society. I urge all the leaders of the universities and research centers to put their strategies and action plans to meet the national and continental socio-economic and sustainable development strategies. The future in our side is in the technological education and the technological industries. Therefore, education in Africa has to look at the future requirements and existing gaps. Egypt paid attention to the future and understood that emerging technologies and artificial intelligence will play a critical role for workforce and creating jobs for the future. Therefore, Egypt reached to such rapid technological changes, which is the fourth and fifth industrial revolution of technology and AI, and therefore we developed our own AI national strategy and implementation plan of how to enter the AI industry and guide research and development to such new emerging technologies. It is anticipated that the AI will contribute by 7.7% of the GDP globally by 2030. This could not be planned away from education. Therefore, education strategy of establishing the technical universities that anticipated to achieve entering such future technological era. And I draw your attention and my attention to the African universities leaders and how these universities will fill up the gap in the TVET education and create jobs of the future. Egypt could share such experience with our brothers and sisters of our African continent and certainly with our African universities. Finally, thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and I wish you all the best in the conference to come up with recommendations and action plans to improve our education in Africa for the future of the Africa that we want. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Education, Science, Scientific Research of Egypt.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the next speaker will be the Secretary General of Association of Arab Universities. Okay.
Please go ahead.
The next speaker is Professor Bertrand Mbachi, the Secretary General of CAMES. Professor Mbachi, over to you, sir.
Schneider, please make Prof. Mbachi a co-host so that he can give his goodwill message. He's online. Thank you.
Merci. Merci, c'est fait. Merci beaucoup. Messieurs les ministres en charge de l'enseignement supérieur, Monsieur le Président du Conseil d'administration de l'AUA, Monsieur le Secrétaire général de l'AUA, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. C'est un honneur et un privilège de prendre la parole à ma qualité de secrétaire général du CAMES à l'occasion de la 15e assemblée de l'Association des universités africaines. À cet effet, qu'il me soit permis de remercier l'ensemble des organisateurs qui ont bien voulu m'associer à cette conférence générale sur l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique. Je ne saurais non plus poursuivre sans pour autant remercier l'auditoire virtuel qui m'écoute. On dit généralement de l'Afrique qu'elle constitue un paradoxe. En effet, l'Afrique se présente comme un continent avec un potentiel à nul autre pareil, car elle possède, selon les estimations des spécialistes, le tiers des réserves mondiales, tout minerai confondu, 60% de terres arables non utilisées, une superficie d'environ 30 millions de kilomètres carrés, pouvant engloutir à la fois les États-Unis d'Amérique, la Chine, l'Inde et une partie de l'Europe occidentale, une population jeune et dynamique qui atteindra 2 milliards d'eux, soit le quart de la population mondiale d'ici un demi-siècle, un taux de croissance supérieur à 5% depuis 2000. En dépit de cet énorme potentiel, l'autre versant qui justifie le dit paradoxe est de constater que l'Afrique demeure le continent le plus pauvre du monde. Comment en est-on arrivé à cette situation? Sur quel levier pouvons-nous nous appuyer pour résoudre cette problématique, pour ne pas dire cette énigme? Cette situation, fondamentalement complexe et à la limite entretenue par certains acteurs de l'ombre, interpelle toutes les composantes de la société africaine, notamment les élites politiques, intellectuelles, actrices directes et indirectes de l'éducation. Cette éducation considérée à bien d'égards par le président Nelson Mandela comme l'arme la plus puissante pour changer le monde. Dans ce contexte, le thème de la présente conférence, qui porte sur l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain, paraît très pertinent et plus que d'actualité à un moment où l'humanité a plus besoin du génie de l'enseignement supérieur de la recherche pour faire face à la pandémie de la COVID-19. Une pandémie qui paralyse une bonne partie de l'activité économique, contribue à accroître le fossé entre riches et pauvres, remettant fatalement en relief le dit paradoxe, comme pour nous rappeler que l'heure est au réveil et à la veille permanente, doublée de changements de stratégie à développer. Nous le savons tous, le développement de l'Afrique repose sur la possibilité d'une forte croissance économique, la transformation de son potentiel démographique en un dividende,
mais aussi et surtout une vision politique continentale audacieuse et éclairée, fondée sur un investissement permanent et pertinent à grande échelle sur l'enseignement supérieur et la recherche, afin de disposer de savoirs, de compétences aptes à valoriser ou à créer de nouvelles richesses. Oui, comme le montre de manière et pourtant flagrante le bon état du système éducatif de recherche dans les pays développés, l'institution universitaire et de recherche, autrement dit l'enseignement supérieur, demeure incontournable dans cette accélération du processus de transformation sociale, que sa mission repose sur la production, la création, la conservation, la transmission et la diffusion des savoirs et porte ainsi le levain de la dynamique de l'innovation et du développement. Messieurs les ministres, distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, le CAMES, depuis sa création en 1968, constitue un cadre commun de gestion des problématiques de l'enseignement supérieur pour l'ensemble de ses 19 membres. Il s'est doté en 2013 d'une stratégie 2015-2019, puis 2020-2022, fondée sur une analyse inclusive et participative sans complaisance de la situation de l'enseignement supérieur et de la recherche dans son espace. Le déploiement de cette stratégie s'articule autour de 7 axes structurants et innovants qui constituent autant de leviers d'action pour répondre efficacement aux besoins du développement socio-économique des pays de son espace dans le contexte globalisé, particulièrement exigeant du XXIe siècle. Toute cette stratégie converge vers 2 leviers moteurs transversaux que l'assurance qualité et le numérique représentent. Cette stratégie permet à notre institution ainsi qu'aux institutions d'enseignement supérieur et de recherche des États membres de se placer en phase avec les agendas 2063 de l'Union africaine et 2030 des Nations unies. Elle préfigure le CAMES du futur, cher au sommet des chefs d'État et de gouvernement, nouvelle instance politique de haut niveau du CAMES, dont la prochaine rencontre est prévue au dernier trimestre 2021 à Dakar, au Sénégal, sur le thème « Société du savoir, activer les leviers formation, compétences et métiers pour renforcer l'employabilité des jeunes ». Selon mon entendement, pour valoriser le dividende démographique de l'Afrique, au lieu qui ne constitue une épée de Damoclès ou un volcan dont l'éruption imprévisible peut créer des crises et semer de la désolation, cette problématique devrait se situer au centre de la préoccupation de notre système éducatif en vue de faire reculer la pauvreté et de s'engager résolument dans la voie de la prospérité par la formation d'un capital humain de qualité, la valorisation numérique perçue judicieusement par certains visionnaires comme le substrat de la 4e révolution industrielle. Distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, le CAMES d'aujourd'hui et celui de demain s'inscrivent pleinement dans la voie d'un enseignement supérieur et d'une recherche de qualité déployée dans un environnement numérique intelligent, contribuant à la formation de ressources humaines de qualité, agiles et innovants, aptes à répondre aux besoins de services multiformes de transformation sociale pour que l'Afrique puisse retrouver sa place à côté des autres continents et non derrière eux dans un monde solidaire, équitable et juste. Je vous remercie pour votre aimable et patiente attention en nous souhaitant fructueux travaux.
Merci beaucoup pour la parole. Le secrétaire général du Conseil africain et malgache pour l'enseignement supérieur. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I think the goodwill messages have to be as brief as possible. Otherwise, it will significantly affect our program. Already, we are past 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, depending on where you are. And we have not even gone halfway the goodwill messages. So through you, I would like to urge those that are giving goodwill messages to be as brief as possible. The next one will be from Sudan. goodwill message from Sudan. Honorable Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Sudan.
Honorable Minister, please.
Hello, Prof. Can we go to the next once we prepare his speech? Thank you.
Okay, the next one is the Secretary General of Association of West African Universities, Professor Abdullahi Ribadu. Professor Ribadu. Professor Ribadu. Okay, so if we don't get him, we move to the next one. The Secretary General of All African Students Union, Mr. Peter Koje. You have the floor, Mr. Peter Koje. Okay. The Regional Director of UNESCO Regional Office for West Africa, Dr. Dimitri Sanga. I'm wondering whether they are muted.
Prof, can we share the Sudan remarks?
Yeah, they said they are not ready.
We are now ready. Are we?
Okay, let's share the Sudan one. Sudan, the Honorable Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Sudan has a goodwill message. Okay, share it, please.
Of African universities, distinguished guests, all protocols of. First, I would like to convey to you the sincere apology to Her Excellency, the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in Sudan, Professor Intisar Sqairoun, for not being able to attend this important meeting due to a very urgent issue. It is a great honor and a privilege for me to be with you today in this important conference. I would like to congratulate the Association of African Universities for continuing working on its agenda and objectives in spite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The theme of the conference, the future of education in Africa, is the most appropriate one in our circumstances. The association should continue to support the vision, mission, core values, and objective of its member as specified in the Constitution and as guided by the Strategic Plan 2025. The strategic plan incorporates the continent educational strategy in Africa, and it is concerned about the implementation of several various initiatives and the Africa What We Want Agenda 2063. We need to remember, though we are at the turning point, the global pandemic is still going on. Our societies, citizens need our contributions more than ever. Education, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship should be leading our communities into a good future. We need to adopt great openness, flexibility, and ability to adapt and grasp all opportunities. We can imagine the world after COVID-19 pandemic. We may be asked the relevant questions about the future of African higher education in Africa, how our universities are going to function in the post-pandemic world, what will be the role and the rules of higher education in shaping the pandemic world after that, and responding to the numerous challenges in the post-pandemic world. We all need to work together to ensure that the association will be continuing to lead debates, research around key issues in African higher education and advance the role of African higher education in sustainable development. We have a common future. We need to work together to build more digital, more just, more democratic, and more equitable societies. And I wish you a very successful meeting and a conference, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the representative
Honorable
Minister
Ministers of Higher Education
of Sudan. Thank you very much.
The Chair of the Association of the African Universities.
I think they are finished, so remove it. Okay, so UNESCO now, UNESCO is ready to have the floor. UNESCO, Dr. Dimitri Sanga, Regional Director,
Dimitri Sanga.
Please go ahead.
المدير الإقليمي من مكتب اليونسكو بمنطقة شمال إفريقيا.
Go ahead.
يمكنك البدء الآن.
Go ahead. UNESCO, go ahead. Well, you are muted. We are not hearing you. You are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
He's not online, so we can move to the next person, please.
Somebody is speaking there, Professor Salif. Okay. All right.
He's online. Professor Salifu was speaking, but he was unmuted.
Okay, then let him unmute himself. Professor Salifu, unmute yourself. Somebody should help him. Okay, I think we'll go ahead because of time. There are two videos we want to.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Alors, je voudrais vraiment présenter les excuses du directeur régional du Sanga parce qu'il vient de se retirer, parce qu'il doit prononcer vraiment, il doit présider une importante réunion au sein de l'organisation sur justement l'éducation et le futur de notre plan d'action. Alors, donc, vraiment, toutes nos excuses. Mesdames, Messieurs les ministres, Monsieur le secrétaire général de l'Association de l'Université africaine, Madame la commissaire de l'Union africaine, Monsieur le président de la Banque africaine de développement, Mesdames et Messieurs, en vos rangs et grades respectifs. C'est avec un grand plaisir que je participe à la 15e conférence générale quadriennale des dirigeants des universités africaines. Le thème de cette conférence générale est d'une importance capitale pour ce que devrait être la configuration de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique à horizon 2050 et bien au-delà. Au nom de la directrice générale de l'UNESCO, Madame Audrey Azoulay, je voudrais de manière solennelle rendre un hommage appuyé au secrétaire général de l'Association des universités africaines, à l'Union africaine, à la Banque africaine de développement, pour avoir pris la mesure de l'enjeu de contribuer au débat mondial en cours sur le futur de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique. À cet égard, l'UNESCO, qui est en charge de la coordination mondiale de l'ODD 4, a plusieurs messages à partager avec vous. Le premier, aujourd'hui, il est heureux de constater qu'un consensus se dégage. Les opinions envers l'enseignement supérieur africain semblent être en train de changer. L'enseignement supérieur en Afrique peut améliorer la santé du pays, contribuer à la réduction de la pauvreté par la production des savoirs, des compétences et des laboratoires à haute valeur ajoutée scientifique, améliorer la technologie et renforcer la gouvernance. L'enseignement supérieur africain doit contribuer au développement durable de nos sociétés. En l'an 2000, le secrétaire général de l'ONU, le regretté M. Kofi Annan, paix à son âme, disait à juste titre que l'université doit devenir un outil primordial pour le développement de l'Afrique dans le nouveau siècle. Les universités peuvent aider à développer l'expertise africaine, elles peuvent favoriser l'analyse des problèmes africains, renforcer les institutions nationales, servir comme les modèles d'environnement pour la pratique de la bonne gouvernance, la résolution des conflits et le respect des droits de l'homme, et permettre aux universités africaines de jouer le rôle actif dans la communauté mondiale des savants. Deuxième message, depuis plus de 2 décennies, l'UNESCO a posé les bases du développement d'un espace africain de l'enseignement supérieur fondé sur l'accès, la qualité, l'équité et le numérique éducatif. Les grandes lignes de ce cadre en la matière sont tracées depuis la conférence mondiale de l'enseignement supérieur de 1998, dont les points de consensus et recommandations ont été revus par la conférence mondiale sur l'enseignement supérieur de 2009, à laquelle avait justement pris part l'Association des universités africaines, qui a d'ailleurs consacré un chapitre spécial à l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique. La 3e conférence mondiale sur l'enseignement supérieur de l'UNESCO se tiendra en juin 2022 et mettra l'accent sur l'enseignement supérieur du futur. L'Association des universités africaines sera invitée à y prendre part. Le 3e message, en septembre 2019, l'UNESCO, anticipant les multiples défis auxquels le monde doit faire face, a lancé une nouvelle initiative intitulée « Les futurs de l'éducation », qui intègre une composante dédiée aux futurs de l'enseignement supérieur. Une commission internationale indépendante de haut niveau a été mise en place. Elle est présidée par la présidente de l'Éthiopie, son Excellence Madame Saleh Work Souédé. L'objectif ultime des futurs de l'éducation est de préparer un agenda pour une action mondiale sur l'apprentissage et la responsabilité collective, pour l'avenir de l'humanité et de la planète dans un monde de complexité croissante, d'incertitude et de précarité que la COVID-19 est venue exacerber en créant une crise multidimensionnelle à l'échelle planétaire. À cet égard, notre directrice générale, Mme Audrey Azoulay, a récemment déclaré que quand les inégalités se creusent, quand le numérique, le big data et l'intelligence artificielle ouvrent de nouvelles perspectives, quand les sciences cognitives perturbent les approches traditionnelles de l'apprentissage, alors il est essentiel de repenser l'éducation. Au nom de la directrice générale de notre organisation, je voudrais dire que l'UNESCO et ses partenaires saluent la tenue de l'enseignement supérieur en closing. Comme vous le voyez, celle-ci est en parfaite cohérence avec la vision de l'UNESCO en la matière. Monsieur le secrétaire général, la conférence sur le futur de l'enseignement supérieur se déroule à 6 ans de l'adoption de l'agenda 2030. Pour l'UNESCO, l'enjeu de cette conférence devra être de permettre à l'enseignement supérieur africain et à la recherche scientifique dans toute leur diversité, de mieux répondre aux grands défis scientifiques, sanitaires, environnementaux, technologiques, économiques et sociaux du présent et des décennies à venir. La paix, la sécurité, la santé, les grandes pandémies, la sécurité alimentaire, la gestion sobre des ressources, le changement climatique, la transition énergétique, le chômage massif des jeunes, l'urbanisation, etc. sont des défis à relever. Le programme de cette conférence attaque de manière frontale ces défis-là. Et l'UNESCO tient à saluer tout ce que le secrétaire général de l'AUA a fait au cours de ces 2 mandats. L'UNESCO prêtera une attention particulière aux conclusions, aux recommandations et au communiqué final pour que nous puissions apporter notre appui et soutien à la mise en œuvre, bien sûr, de son plan d'action. Au nom de M. Dimitri Sanga, directeur régional pour l'Afrique de l'Ouest de l'UNESCO, je remercie la communauté des scientifiques et les ministres de leur attention. Merci.
Beaucoup, professeur Zalifou.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Professor Mbao, can we continue?
I think we are 18 minutes past 12 GMT. And according to the program, the Honorable Minister representing His Excellency is expected to officially open the conference by 12:35. And he has other engagements. So in the interest of time, other goodwill messages will be given later on. We want to move now to section C, Africa Union's and ADB's key interventions, after which the Honorable Minister will open the conference and we may come back to the goodwill messages now. So you have already introduced Her Excellency. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I think Professor Sarah Anyang Abo can now give her presentation on the topic, Overview of African Union's Agenda 2063 and its interventions in education in the era of COVID-19. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. His Excellency Sarah, you have the floor now. I have introduced you before, so just go ahead. His Excellency Sarah Akbol, you have the floor, please.
Mr. Chair, if she's not ready, ADB, a presentation on intervention of African Development Bank in education in the era of COVID-19 can also be presented so that we can redeem time.
Okay, thank you. Who is representing Professor Adesina? African Development Bank representative, please, you have the floor. Apparently, they are not connected. Professor Mba.
Okay. So if they're not connected, Mr. Chair, then we continue with the goodwill messages.
Okay, then we can continue, please. Who is the next now?
The next is a video from Ms. Ida Sinwonyo.
Bonjour, messieurs les ministres, messieurs les présidents, messieurs les recteurs, messieurs les secrétaires généraux, messieurs les présidents d'université, chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs. Je suis heureux de participer à la 15e conférence générale de l'Association des universités africaines au nom de l'Agence universitaire de la francophonie. Merci beaucoup pour votre invitation. L'AUF est devenu aujourd'hui le premier réseau universitaire au monde avec plus de 1000 universités et organismes de recherche, est une organisation africaine par excellence. En effet, nous avons en Afrique près de 400 universités membres, réparties sur 40 pays et géré par 5 directions régionales qui couvrent tout le continent. L'AUF assure une proximité sur le terrain avec plusieurs bureaux nationaux, des espaces de services dédiés à l'innovation pédagogique et au numérique, mais aussi à l'employabilité, l'insertion professionnelle et à l'entrepreneuriat. Ce sont tous des défis, des grands défis pour l'Afrique. L'AUF favorise particulièrement deux autres axes de travail en Afrique qui sont la recherche appliquée, la recherche et développement, car les universités africaines doivent participer aux solutions des questions complexes de développement de notre continent. Et la problématique de la qualité de la formation et de l'enseignement, notamment par des programmes importants de formation des formateurs. Cette formation concerne tous les formateurs, du primaire à l'universitaire, sans oublier le secondaire et la formation professionnelle. Ce genre de projets permettent d'affronter les défis de la massification. En conclusion de cette petite intervention, je voudrais réaffirmer la volonté de l'AUF de coopérer et de nouer des partenariats constructifs avec l'ensemble des acteurs concernés par les systèmes éducatifs et universitaires en Afrique. Nous serons également heureux de vous accueillir à notre tour lors de notre prochaine Assemblée générale quadriennale qui se tiendra à Bucarest en format hybride du 21 au 24 septembre 2021. Vive l'internationalisation de la science, vive la coopération interafricaine, vive l'Afrique et à très bientôt. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. La parole représente l'Agence interuniversitaire de la francophonie. Merci.
Okay, so we hear that ADB is ready now. ADB, Madame Hendrina. Madame Hendrina. Aha. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. The Honorable Minister of Education, representing the host head of state, Professor Nana Addo, His Excellency Professor Sarah Agobo, the Africa Union Commissioner for the Human Resource Science and Technology, the Honorable Ministers of Education present, Professor Aquila Bo, the AAU President and the Vice Chancellor of Maitland University, representative of the development partners, university associations, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Africa Development Bank, it gives me great pleasure to address you at this 15th Association of African University General Conference on the Future of Higher Education in Africa. Our President, Dr. Adesina, would have loved to be here, not just to show his support to the AAU in person, but also to participate in the conversations on the role of higher education during this difficult period of COVID-19. He sends his sincere apologies and best wishes. We all know that as the engine for development, universities are the co-creators of knowledge-based economies. With changing development demands and challenges, African universities are today getting recognized as avenues of instilling practical knowledge and skills aligned to ideals of Africa's inclusive growth and sustainable development. Unlike in advanced countries where university education has and still is the center of current and future innovations, African higher education subsector has for decades lagged behind in support of development. This has worsened by the current COVID pandemic. Indeed, and as we are aware, there are a few elements of human life today that remain unaffected by the pandemic. And perhaps one remarkable effect has been the forceful closure of learning institutions. At least 53 of the 54 states at one point shut down their learning institutions, leaving over 20 million learners out of school at pre-primary, 160 million at primary, 56 at secondary, 8 million at tertiary level, with no access to continued learning or teaching. Overall, the pandemic has affected the education of more than 86% of school-going population, an unprecedented occurrence in the recent history. Looking at Africa, the region's significant development challenges and vast natural resource endowments, which remains undeveloped, hold immeasurable economic opportunities. Yet the low value-added production patterns and limited innovation make Africa dependent on exports of raw materials, notably agricultural products, mineral products, and thus creating wealth for foreign processors and manufacturers, leaving a large segment of Africa, especially the youth, in absolute poverty and joblessness. Undoubtedly, investment is needed to transform the underfunded education systems in Africa, to build the talent and skills of young men and women as a powerful engine to drive sustainable economic transformation. Beg your pardon. Evidence shows that the higher education subsector often receives the lowest share of government spending in Africa at 0.2% of the GDP, especially for TVET, and 0.9% of the GDP in higher education. Higher education also attracts the lowest investment of development partners, with only 41% devoted to higher education between 2015 and 2018. COVID has led it to a fall in spending on education, both at household level as well as government level. Needless to say, Africa has not prioritized science, technology, engineering, and mathematics at higher levels of education, which is important for innovation and creation of jobs. Overall, in Africa, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics research makes only 29% of Africa's total research output. This is according to the World Bank report of 2016. And innovation capacity is equally low. Africa's share of patent application in the world is less than 1%. And the 2019 World Intellectual Property Globally Innovation Index, ranking 129 countries, put 19 of the African countries among the bottom 30 countries. To adequately prepare for higher education systems to respond to the current and future pandemic, there is need for more investment in higher education, research, and innovation. However, Africa's investment in and attention to science, technology, and innovation, STI, is also too low to build the skills required to maintain the current COVID-19 induced demand for technological innovations. This is affirmed by the current African share of scientific publication in the world, which is less than 5%. Notably, the COVID-19 pandemic has also accelerated the transition to a digital economy, triggering a permanent disruption in the traditional delivery of learning and calling for reset in the education sector, reorientation for us to embrace technology. Unfortunately, Africa's investment in education digital infrastructure is still low to accommodate this shift. 90% of learners, regrettably, have no access to household computers, 82% lack internet access, and around 28 million live in locations where they have unreliable mobile network, leading to exclusion from education in times of pandemic similar to COVID. In response, the Africa Development Bank has been at the forefront in promoting and investing in education, STI, research and development among high institutions of learning in Africa. Between 2014 and 2020, the bank committed about $922 92 million, covering over 15 new education projects, which are aimed at supporting technical vocational education and higher education. Beneficiary institutions and graduates have directly and indirectly been contributing to the prevention and the mitigation of these adverse effects of COVID-19. Besides, through this commitment, the bank is supporting higher education system as critical centers of knowledge and innovation for aiding the achievement of sustainable development goals in the region through its agenda on Africa's socio-economic transformation. For instance, the bank has invested UA 18.8 million in 3 Nelson Mandela Institutes in Tanzania, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso, whose focus is to enhance the relevance of STEM teaching and research, improve employability of graduates, and support project coordination and regional cooperation. This has produced about 2,000 PhD and master's degree graduates from the bank-funded scholarship, out of which 31% are women. The 3 institutions have multiplied the number of graduates by 3.8 compared to 2016 and have produced 357 internationally recognized publications. In addition, the bank is supporting the establishment of centers of excellence in several universities with incubation programs. One example is the Rwanda Institute of Science and Technology, a collaborative program on masters in ICT jointly with Carnegie Mellon University in the US. With a 40 million support from the bank, the school is a world class, and 100% of their students get jobs even before they graduate, with many setting up their own ventures. Such is the case of Paris, a student who set up her own IT business and sold it for 21 million at the age of 27. What did the university do to help her? Of course, world-class education, yes, but much more exposure to innovation. Acknowledging the future of skills development is grounded on our leveraging of the 4th industrial revolution. The bank is championing digital skills development through the Coding for Employment program. The program has partnered with leading global technology companies such as Microsoft, Facebook, LinkedIn, and others to utilize and is developing 14 university innovation centers of excellence in 5 pilot countries in Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal. The aim is to equip the continent's youth with demand-driven skills and incubate them as techno-entrepreneurs for the future of work. Further, the program runs a virtual e-learning platform which has benefited more than 90,000 youth from 45 African countries. In Nigeria, the bank supported the federal government to develop and operationalize its Digital Nigeria e-learning platform, which has over 120,000 Nigerian youth enrolled in courses with completion rate at more than 80%. Ms. Adeleki, based in Lagos, Nigeria, is one of the beneficiaries of CF program and is now employed as a product designer with a software development company in Texas. Indeed, the examples show the need for higher education in Africa to take lead in the process of harnessing the youth bulge as a powerful engine for wealth creation and development. The youth are always present. They are not the future. Our collective responsibility as universities should be to prepare the youth to thrive today in order to drive the future through quality training, entrepreneurship, research, and innovation. To reinforce this, the bank is in the process of developing the Skills for Employability and Productivity for Africa Action Plan 2021 to 2025. This action plan is being developed to ensure continuity of the bank's commitment on interventions in education and skills development on the continent. So what is the path to the future of university in Africa? Let me offer a few suggestions. First, Africa University must compete with the best in the world. This is not only by getting well ranked, but ensuring that research and innovation produced inform the development agenda of the continent. That way, our university will become knowledge transmitters to power our knowledge-based economies. Second, universities should increase their funding not only to meet the set targets by the African Union, but to prepare well for disruptions such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Boosting public investment in digital infrastructure and the application of fourth industrial revolution technologies will ensure that no one is left behind. Third, more emphasis should be placed on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects to fuel the growth of the homegrown solutions to African challenges. Thus, Africa should not depend on solutions produced by other regions, but rather, our universities should take lead in creating solutions to global challenges. Such innovations will help address pandemics such as the current one, accelerate the recovery process, and also increase productivity and competitiveness. Fourth, private sector should be encouraged to partner with universities in the continent to strengthen the relevance of the skills, research and innovation in the labor market, but also industrial players should therefore locate research, support technology, support innovation centers in the university campuses. And more importantly, they should be able to give students an opportunity for internship in these centers as well. To conclude, allow me to reiterate that higher education agenda sits at the heart of the bank, and the bank's effort in enhancing human capital for Africa economic transformation in the context of the bank's high five priority areas, which is light up and power Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life of the people of Africa. I'm convinced that our partnership and joint intervention in African university education will enhance its role beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. As your partner of choice, the Africa Development Bank stands ready to work with all stakeholders to advance the role of university in the continent. In the next 3 days, we shall have a chance to exchange, share ideas and experiences on how to strengthen the future of higher education. I'm confident that individually and collectively, we'll come out of this conference with valuable solutions. Once again, on behalf of the President Adesina of the Africa Development Bank, I wish you all a successful and fruitful conference. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dame Andrina, representing the President of the African Development Bank and the expectations towards higher education in Africa. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would like to briefly introduce the speaker, Madam Hendrina Chawe Doroba. She is the manager of the Education and Skills Development Division of the Human Capital, Youth and Skills Department at the African Development Bank in Côte d'Ivoire. Before joining ADB, she is a former executive director for the Forum for African Women Educationists, or FAWE. In that capacity, she was responsible for coordinating regional programs across 33 sub-Saharan African countries where FAWE has a presence. Madame Doroba is a mathematician, an educationalist with over 30 years of work experience in the development sector. She has experience and expertise in the design and development of gender-responsive education and skills development programs, training of trainers on gender-responsive models, project coordination, monitoring and evaluation, policy analysis, and advocacy. Thank you very much, Madame Doroba, for your time and for this important presentation you are giving us. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, through you, it is already past the time The Honorable Minister is supposed to give us his speech and officially open the conference. With your permission, I would like you to now invite the Honorable Minister to officially open the conference. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Professor Mbahe. It is my pleasure now to invite Dr. Jose Anfu, the Honorable Minister of Higher Education and Minister of Education of Ghana. He obtained a bachelor's degree in Land Economy Business Administration from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. He holds a master's degree in Education Management from the University of La Verne, California, and a PhD in Education Policy, Planning and Administration from the University of Southern California. He is the founder of the New Designs Charter Schools in Los Angeles, California. Prior to this, he worked as a mathematics and information technology teacher at the Manual Arts High School in Los Angeles, California for 10 years. During this period, he founded the International Studies Academy, which served as a small learning community for students to thrive academically and socially. He also served as the lead mathematics teacher at the University of California Manual Arts Neighborhood Academic Initiative. He was part of the task force established by the National Research Center for Career and Technical Education to develop a national model for career and technical education in high schools and colleges in the United States. In March 2017, Dr. Yao Osei Aduntun was appointed by the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to serve as Deputy Minister for Education. In 2019, he was voted the best performing Deputy Minister of the Year by two research bodies, Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability and Facts Investigative Services. He is the Member of Parliament for Bosonkwe constituency in the Ashanti region of Ghana. He is also part of the Works and Housing Committee, as well as the Poverty Reduction Strategy Committee in the 7th Parliament of the 40th Republic of Ghana. Dr. Adutun is passionate about education. Education is what has brought him this so far and afforded him all the opportunity he had. He dreams of a Ghana where every child, regardless of his background, whether poor or privileged, will be afforded equal opportunity. Access, equity, quality, and relevance is what he intends to bring to education in Ghana. He has a dream, and that dream is that our education will be able to shape the aspirations for Ghanaians and indeed Africa for the transformation that we all seek. He believes that to prepare Ghanaian students to be career ready, schools need to teach and adopt the full C's of the 21st century skills, which are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Minister of Education of Ghana, Dr. Wao Osei Adutun, representing the head of state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful introduction. His Excellency, the Commissioner for Human Resources, Science and Technology of the African Union Commission, Her Excellency, the former African Union Permanent Rep to the United States of America, His Excellency, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Education, Science and Culture, the President of the African Association of African Universities, distinguished past and current members of the Governing Board of AAU, honorable members of state, dignitaries from Africa and beyond, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished development partners of higher education in Africa, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I stand on all protocol duly established to welcome you all to the first virtual General Conference of the Association of African Universities, which is also the 15th Quadrennial General Conference of the Association. Exactly 4 years ago, the President addressed the leadership of the African higher education community at La Palm Royal Beach Hotel in Accra during the 14th General Conference, which also climaxed the 50th anniversary celebrations of the AAU, hosted under the theme AAU at 50, Achievement, Prospects, and Challenges. In that address, I questioned why the educational trajectory in Africa remains significantly unchanged from what existed in the pre- and immediate post-colonial era. The traits identified included weak linkages between African universities and the productive sector, low higher education participation rate in research, an educational curriculum that did not meet the needs of the labor market, and the age-old financial constraints that bedeviled the development of higher education in Africa. 4 years on would have been considered too short for an impact of any significant magnitude to have occurred on the higher education front. Any change, if ever envisaged, was most likely to occur in the digital space than anywhere else. I must therefore commend the Association of African Universities for extraordinarily making phenomenal strides in between the two conferences to strengthen the bond between and among its member universities and the Secretariat by establishing 2 sub-regional offices in East Africa and North Africa, respectively. There has greatly improved networking and collaboration among the universities in these respective sub-regions. The successful hosting of the first African Students Olympics and the AAU Conference of Rectors, Vice Chancellors, and Presidents of African Universities by AAU North African Office in Cairo, Egypt, in March and July 2019 are testimonies of the early milestones of the regional offices in Africa. Equally applaudable was the AAU's establishment of its North American office in Washington, D.C. in October 2019 to improve its engagement with African academics in the diaspora who now have an umbrella body to link them up more effectively with the African higher education community. The historic Homecoming Summit for African academics in the diaspora, hosted virtually by the AAU in September 2020, brought together an average 800 participants over the 4-day period. This onerous achievement has opened more doors for the AAU to engage more for the progress of higher education on the continent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are in the 8th years into the implementation of the African Union's Agenda 2063, and none other sector can better coordinate the attainment of the Africa we want than higher education. Here again, the AAU has proved its mettle in the past 4 years. Besides running a dedicated program on Agenda 2063 on its online television portal in the past 3 years, with a recent focus on popularizing the African continental free trade, the association in March this year partnered the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, United Nations Economic Commerce and Industry, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, various regional chambers of commerce, and the Wealth Masters Group to successfully organize the Maiden African Private Sector Virtual Summit on the theme African Rising, Righting the Wrongs of Doing Business in Africa. I say a big aiko, which in English means well done, to the AAU. In the same vein, the 4-year period between the two conferences has been significantly eventful globally, and to a greater extent, very challenging to many institutions of higher learning in Africa, as the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, exposed the narrow foundations upon which our educational system has been standing. We procrastinated for too long about a future of golden opportunities until a health disaster pulled our educational system to a halt. We struggled to remain afloat like our peers in advanced countries, though the scale and magnitude were vastly different. We struggled to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in most cases we failed because of the inadequacy of our research infrastructure and our limited ability to tap into the transformative power of technologies. To engage our learners and remain relevant in the global knowledge economy, we mobilized to migrate to online teaching and learning, an endeavor which some are still grappling with. I need not belabor the impact of COVID-19 on higher education, as everyone is aware of the dire consequences. It is clear that when the world piloted itself into the 21st century on the back of the digital revolution, Africa was ill prepared to fully tap into the enormous opportunities this offered. Many of our universities could therefore not immediately deploy ICT tools to teaching, learning, and research during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is due to these realities that the AAU chose the theme, The Future of Higher Education in Africa, for this 15th Quadrennial Conference. I am of the belief that by the end of this conference, we'll have preferred strategies that will strengthen our educational foundations to be more resilient in the face of uncertainties, such as the outbreak of health pandemics like COVID-19. We have the natural and human resources in Africa to mold the higher education space to our benefit. This calls for unalloyed support from the state to educational institutions, effective partnerships between institutions of higher learning and industry, research outcomes that are relevant, and teaching and learning curricula that addresses local needs. Our advantage as a continent is the demographic dividend of a very youthful population needing critical skill sets to exploit the huge expanse of natural resources on the continent for socioeconomic development. While the challenges of higher education are known, it takes visionary leadership to overcome them. We have talked for far too long and need now to walk the talk. COVID-19 has been the wake-up call for Africa to innovate rapidly because the pandemic has challenged the educational trajectory, perhaps on a scale never experienced before in higher education reforms anywhere in the world. Why I do not believe in the bare supremacy of any academic discipline over another, I'm convinced that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM play a pivotal role as the foundation for the development of other academic disciplines. The future of higher education, therefore, should find its root deeply embedded in STEM. Technology was at the rescue of higher education when the world came to a standstill in 2020. In higher education, the rapid adoption of blended strategies in teaching and learning catapulted by the increasing use of ICTs as teaching and learning tools has positioned virtual education as the new normal in education delivery. The absorptive capacity through digital learning is enormous, as millions more get enrolled in academic programs where world universities take up to few thousands. More importantly, the access to and increasing use of ICTs by even marginalized groups such as people with disabilities empower them to increase their independency and self-esteem, as well as provide them with additional control over learning. But while virtual education makes inroads in Africa through e-learning systems such as open universities and open and distant learning programs, this should not necessarily be overhyped or overrated over the importance of the brick and mortar academic setup, at least in the short run. Many of the world universities have also set up and expanded their virtual learning centers for content delivery. However, a worrisome outlook for Africa with the introduction of borderless classrooms is the lack of access to computers, internet, and ICT infrastructure by those in remote areas, which may lead to widening of the gap and perpetuating effects of inequity and lack of access to education services. Equally important, African Universities of Higher Learning need to review their staff recruitment, development, retention, and management strategies. As an immediate solution, more resources need to be pumped into staff training and to make up for limitations in teaching faculty. New recruitments may not necessarily be based on the physical presence of the experts. Adequate succession planning to be able to meet the estimated future needs in terms of faculty is also worth considering in the review process. What may not likely be controlled immediately is moonlighting, where staff trained by one institution can easily be poached by another to work remotely without the staff moving physically from his mother institution. Brain drain will receive back its investment in human skills that have been absorbed by the developed world because of better prospects. In terms of content, many public universities will most likely run transformative programs, particularly business-oriented, rather than social science-based biased academic programs to sustain their operations. This is because income from their internationalization programs that draw cross-border movement of students will take a nosedive as online sessions take over. Private universities will also likely pursue business-oriented as well as science-based programs that generate more income than social science courses. The private sector will be more attracted to institutions that offer STEM programs for research and development and are more likely to partner them. In all these adventures, a university that inculcates and nurtures entrepreneurship in all its subject areas is more likely to survive in the next decade. But the entrepreneurial education should spur business incubation, or the institution risks losing students to other competitors. Finally, Africa should brace itself to play an important, though volatile, geopolitical role in the global educational discourse due to its youthful population that will serve as the marketplace for student enrollment. Educational institutions both within Africa as well as those in Europe, Asia, North America, and other regions will seek to establish their educational presence in Africa. But how we can stand at pole position to garner a substantial proportion of our youth into our institutions will depend on what policies we put in place now to bear fruit tomorrow. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm of the opinion that the current crop of African university leaders who have successfully woven through the havoc wreaked by COVID-19 are equally resolute to provide the visionary leadership needed to propel your universities into the known future. I therefore look forward to sharing in your success stories of building robust higher education system in Africa, system which contributes directly to the social and economic development of Africa, one which helps us meet the various global and continental agenda, such as the African Union's Agenda 2063, the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, and the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. On this positive note, I declare the 15th Quadrennial General Conference of the AAU duly opened. Thank you for such a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Yao Adotun, the Honorable Minister of Education of the Republic of Ghana, representing His Excellency Nada Ado Dankwa Akuf, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you very much again.
Mr. Chair, through you, we would like to have a group photo with Honorable Minister Dr. Yao Adotun. So if all the participants can switch on their camera, and then we have a group picture with His Excellency, Dr. Say Adotun, and then after that, we can continue with the program. So please switch on your camera now, and our technical team will take a group picture. Switch on your camera wherever you are, put on your camera, and smile. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Chair, through you. Mr. Chair, through you, we have spent 2 hours, and we still have 2 more hours to go today. With your permission, it's good we have a health break for 30 minutes in accordance with the program. And during this time, the outstanding goodwill messages can be aired so that those who are around can listen to them. And after 30 minutes, we can start with the next session on the program. With your permission, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Let us break for 30 minutes.
Excuse me, please.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. When am I supposed to give that keynote speech? Because I have another engagement and I'll soon leave.
Yeah,
I'm actually multitasking in 3 different meetings.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we call her Excellency, but we didn't hear her.
No, I was waiting. I've been here. Maybe there was a network, but I've been here.
Yes, there was a network problem. We have called you, but yeah, now I think we can do it, Professor Mba, I think.
Okay, yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, if we can give her the chance to give her key.
Yes. His Excellency Sarah, you have the floor. Sorry for this. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Prof. I stand on existing protocol. I am to speak on an overview of African Union Agenda 2063 and the interventions in education in the era of COVID-19. Africa is facing several pressing issues, including poverty, inequities, illiteracy, insurgencies, and conflicts, environmental degradation, infectious and non-infectious diseases, food and nutrition insecurity, natural and human-induced disasters that continue to undermine its development. COVID-19 has exposed and further weakened the already weak social and economic systems and risk reversing gains over the last decade. Agenda 2063 is Africa's blueprint and master plan for transforming Africa into the global powerhouse of the future. It is the continent's strategic framework that aims to deliver on its goal for inclusive and sustainable development, and is a concrete manifestation of the Pan-African drive for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity pursued under Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. It is important to note that Agenda 2063 was an inspiration of African leaders to, I quote, refocus and reprioritize Africa's agenda from the struggle against apartheid and the attainment of political independence for the continent, which had been the focus of the Organization of African Unity, the precursor of the African Union, and instead to prioritize inclusive social and economic development, continental and regional integration, democratic governance, and peace and security, amongst other issues aimed at repositioning Africa to becoming a dominant player in the global arena. Agenda 2063, the blueprint of the Africa we want, has 7 aspirations, 20 goals, and several priority areas. The 7 aspirations are centered around socio-economic development, culture, democratic governance, and peace and security, while also emphasizing inclusive societies and the empowerment of women and youth, included in Aspiration 3. Strong leadership and democratic institutions are considered critical enablers for achieving the transformation aspired by the Agenda 2063 framework. Agenda 2063 puts a very strong focus on regional integration. The 7 aspirations. Aspiration 1, a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Aspiration 2, an integrated continent, politically united and based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance. Aspiration 3, an Africa of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. Aspiration 4, a peaceful and secure Africa. Aspiration 5, an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, values, and ethics. Aspiration 6, an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. And Aspiration 7, Africa as a strong, united, resilient, and influential global player and partners. The implementation of Agenda 2063 is guided by 5 10-year plans. The first, adopted by the AU Summit in June 2015 as a basis for the preparation of medium-term development of AU member states, the regional economic communities, and the AU organs. Now, the first 10-year implementation plan for Agenda 2063 seeks to accelerate. Why is it echoing? Seeks to accelerate Africa's political, social, economic, and technological transformation while containing an African drive for self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity. The first 10-year implementation plan for Agenda 2063 has 5 main objectives. Number 1, identify priority areas, set specific targets, define strategies and policy measures required.
We have lost her, but we wait for some time.
Okay. His Excellency, we lost you.
I'm back. Network.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Provides information to all key stakeholders at the national, regional, and continental levels, the diaspora, development partners, global financial institutions, the expected results, outcomes for the first 10-year implementation plan for Agenda 2063 and the roles expected of them. 4, assign responsibilities to all stakeholders in the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. 5, outline the strategies required to ensure availability of resources and capacities together with citizens' engagement to implement the first 10 years implementation plan. So that is the vision and aspiration of Agenda 2063. And these aspirations marked the rededication of Africa towards the attainment of the Pan-African vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own competent and skilled citizens, representing a dynamic force in the international arena. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these 7 aspirations reflect our desire for shared prosperity and well-being, for unity and integration, for a continent of free citizens and expanded horizons, where the full potential of women and youth are realized and with freedom from fear, disease, and want. How else can we attain this vision without consolidating on the power of education to transform lives? The interventions in the era of COVID-19, the need to envision a long-term 50-year development trajectory for Africa is important, as Africa needs to revise and adapt its development agenda to ongoing structural transformations, increase peace and reduction in the number of conflicts, renew economic growth, and social progress. Agenda 2063 encapsulates not only Africa's aspiration for the future, but also identifies key flagship programs which can boost Africa's economic growth and development and lead to the rapid transformation of the continent. Agenda 2063 also identifies key initiatives, key activities, strategies to be undertaken in its 10-year implementation plans, which will ensure that Agenda 2063 delivers both quantitative and qualitative transformational outcomes to Africa's people. How is this linked to education? Because my topic is overview of African Union Agenda 2063 and interventions in education in the era of COVID-19. The Union's Agenda 2063, which sets our vision and transformation priorities to realize the Africa we want, can only be consolidated through education. Our educational systems, from primary, secondary to higher education, are central to realizing this vision. Therefore, the theme of this conference injects and provokes the need for a paradigm shift for us to reimagine education in post-COVID recovery. Quality education leads to competence and skilled acquisition that speaks to the future of work. Therefore, our governments must go beyond rhetoric and invest in educational innovations and infrastructures, teacher development, and better pay package for the realization of the Africa we want. Now, the vision or the task of this topic rests in the mandate of the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation. The Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation undertakes the development and harmonization of policies, strategies, and programs in education, science, technology, space, and innovation to promote inclusive growth and sustainable development in Africa towards achieving the vision of the African Union, aspirations of Agenda 2063, and contribute to the global agenda. In one of our core functions, we are supposed to spearhead development of quality, relevant, and harmonized education systems responsive to social and human development needs of Africa. Our education must be able to present African solutions to African challenges in all the sectors. We are supposed to promote across the continent building of capacities on science, technology, space, and innovation for socio-economic development of the continent. We are to coordinate and develop AU flagship projects and signature initiatives on the Pan-African University and e-University African Outer Space Strategy. In this wise, in the new reform of 2021, the former Human Resources, Science and Technology Department has been renamed the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation. And presently, it has two divisions, Education and Science and Technology and Space. We have different technical offices that see to this educational development, like the Pan-African Institute of Education for Development, IPED, located in Kinshasa, DRC, the International Center for Girls and Women's Education in Africa, in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, the Observatory of Science, Technology, and Innovation in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, and the Scientific, Technical, and Research Commission in Abuja, Nigeria, and finally, the Pan-African University Institutes with institutions in Algeria, Cameroon, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa. For us to be able to fit in the Agenda 2063 first 10-year plan, with the advent of COVID-19, we find weaknesses in Africa's education system and the need for us to reinforce the need for context, innovative, and scalable solutions in education. So we work with relevant technical offices and development partners, member states and recs, implementing several programs and initiatives in responding to the education, science, technology, innovation, COVID-19 response, and the decisions of the Specialized Technical Committee on Education, Science, and Technology on the third ordinary session, guided by the DOTSS initiative. The education sector response to COVID-19. The STC Committee on Education, Science, and Technology held its virtual extraordinary session on 30th April 2020 to address pressing challenges that have been created by the COVID-19 pandemic. In response to the decisions of the ministers, the Commission organized a virtual webinar on opportunities for online learning on 7th May 2020 and a forum on continuous learning and safe reopening of schools in Africa on 10th September 2020 to provide a platform for education experts in African Union member states to exchange lessons on continuous learning, and safe reopening of schools. Furthermore, in collaboration with HP and Pro Futuro, member states were offered a free of charge learning management system and the technical support in order to provide virtual learning while schools are closed. So an online platform on education initiatives in COVID-19 was developed in June 2020. Having gone through this, some of the questions that come up are, how can schools and education work to effectively promote quality education, digital literacy? How do we incorporate digital and literacy skills in education systems to empower the kids? How do we ensure students are given competencies and skills that speak to the world of work as well as the future of work? How do the ministries of education participate in career opportunities and counseling? How do we link their education to competencies and employment? How can education systems recover from the pandemic, making sure the quality, education, and equity are not sacrificed? For me, this is one of the very most important sections for me in the theme, the future of higher education in Africa. What synergies and leakages can be found between education policymakers and the teaching profession? So what are the interventions in the era of COVID-19? While after our meeting on 30th April 2020 to address pressing challenges that have been created by the COVID-19 pandemic, the decisions of the ministers, the Commission organized a virtual webinar on opportunities for online learning on 7th May 2020. But it was important for us to bridge the digital divide and also invest in green energy. Because to speak of remote learning, it is very important to note that even within the city, not everybody has connectivity or can even afford that connectivity. So how do we help this, the education sector to have connectivity, bridge the digital divide, and invest in green energy? So in implementing these decisions, we came up with 4 key elements: communication, implementation, advocacy, and learning, with each several activities carried out during the period. So when we speak of communication, we had campaign awareness and demand for continuous learning through social media campaigns with opportunity providers, webinars, and COVID-19 conversations. In implementation, we engage partners and implement joint initiatives to support AAU member states through partners providing platforms and technical support to member states to deliver learning. In advocacy, policy, guidance, and dialogue with member states to influence agenda and policy response through collaboration with partners to guide member states. And then the STC-EST third virtual session, guidance for reopening of schools. Then learning, we monitored, documented, and disseminated experiences and lessons through knowledge and learning platform developed to showcase MS, partner initiatives, and innovations. The DOTSS, in a bid to have feasible structures and visible paths for education during the COVID-19 generation, there have been educational responses to COVID-19 by the AUC. One of the initiatives is the establishment of the new Africa's Education Transformational Agenda, where D stands for digital connectivity, O, online and offline learning, T, teachers as facilitators and motivators of learning, S, safety online and offline, and the last S, skills-focused learning, connecting the dots. The DOTS framework offers an integrated approach to transforming Africa's education systems, allowing member states to reach every child to learn, whether in a crisis such as COVID-19 or in reaching the most marginalized children with quality and relevant education. We needed also to build the knowledge portal, Then we also had the digital transformation strategy for Africa adopted during the 2020 summit. So the aim of the AU Digital Education Plan is to transform Africa's education systems to improve access, inclusion, quality, and relevance of education and learning to make a meaningful and substantive contribution to Africa's development as articulated in Agenda 2063. The other thing is that we have 3 continental strategies for education. The Continental Education Strategy for Africa 2016-2025, the Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa 2024, and the Continental TVET. These are supposed to be consolidated in these first 10 years. Now, it was agreed that the CISA Clusters Coordination Meeting will be measured against the diversity of representation, having at least organizations within the cluster comprising 2 member states, 1 REC, 1 UN, and 1 NGO. To ensure alignment, the meeting further agreed that a joint intercluster working group should be established on 3 AU education priorities: the DOTSS COVID-19, PACAF, and IEA. IEA is Innovating Education in Africa, which was established in 2018 as a flagship program of the HRST then department aimed at bringing together various stakeholders on the continent to identify, promote, and scale promising education innovations in Africa. So the program has so far identified and promoted 128 education innovations, with 24 being supported with grants to build sustainable enterprises and increase their impact. The Pan-African Quality Assurance Framework, PACAF. In higher education, the African Union Commission has developed an African standards and guidelines for quality assurance to support higher education institutions and quality assurance agencies in Africa in implementing good practices for quality assurance. In addition, efforts are currently ongoing towards the development of the African Continental Qualification Framework with technical support from ETF with the aim of enhancing comparability of qualifications from all subsectors of education and training. Distinguished participants, the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework, which the African Union Commission has endorsed via its committees and its council in 2016, is an overriding framework for several commitments related to quality assurance harmonization activities in Africa. Teacher development and technical and vocational education and training. The Teacher Prize was established in 2019 to celebrate and exemplify outstanding teachers in Africa who have demonstrated commitment and excellence in the teaching profession. So the call for nomination was published on 20th March 2020 with 8 sub-submissions received from ministries of education of AU member states. 6 teachers were awarded from South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Mauritius, Namibia. And under the Skills Initiative for Africa, a training for 68 experts from member states, RECs, and AUC focal points on skills anticipation systems of 21 member states was conducted. It has been concluded that the CIFA innovation window will be opened in 2022 to support innovative practice-oriented and demand-oriented TVET projects in Africa. Then we have worked in technical collaboration with the UNESCO Institute for Statistics and in line with Article 14A of the outcomes of the Pan-African High-Level Conference on Education, PACE 2018, which calls on the African Union and UNESCO to establish a joint CISA SDG4 mechanism. Then our education documentation, that is IPED, the Institute of Education for Development, IPED, worked together on benchmarking exercise for selected SDG4 and CISA 2016-2025 indicators. The first exercise was held in October, while the follow-up consultation took place on February 2021. Then we also have the AU CFA that works for, that is concerned by the increasing vulnerability of girls in Africa due to school closures in response to COVID-19. So they organized a series of webinars in both English and French under the theme Addressing Impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on girls and women's education. And then they came up with the Africa Educates Her campaign to bring awareness around issues that hinder girls and women from accessing education during the COVID-19. And then following a call for proposals by the Global Partnership for Education in June 20, the AUCFR, the Association for the Development of Education in Africa.The, with technical support from UNESCO, UIS, formed a consortium to set up the Knowledge Innovation Exchange, popularly called KICS Observatory of Responses to COVID-19 in Educational Systems. And of course, we have the Pan-African University, Virtual and e-University that was officially launched in 2019. And after that, we called for student applications in mid-December to offer courses on visualization and cloud computing. So education, the COVID-19 pandemic shifted the learning and teaching from physical to entire online delivery and blended learning, mix of online and physical learning. And above all this, the institutes adopted quickly and developed a contingency plan for lecture using different tools, whether it is Zoom, WhatsApp, Microsoft Teams, Keynote, and Google Meet. The lectures in some cases were recorded and uploaded in the learning management system of the institute. Lectures were also completed with audio and video materials from the web. Now, the future of higher education in Africa, this is my conclusion. Education and higher education play a vital role in boosting shared prosperity and fostering economic growth in any society. It is for this reason that Nelson Mandela said, education is the only weapon that can transform the world. But the major difficulty in most countries has been how much public money to devote annually to higher education. The political will must have a vision to invest in our educational institutions by making sure that we have the right kinds of infrastructures for R&D to take place so that our research can be functional research that responds to the needs of the society. As it is said in the concept note of this conference, I quote, higher education is globally recognized as the bedrock for comprehensive development of any nation, region, or the world. In view of this, various African countries and governments have initiated several policies and models to build quality higher education for developing human capital to positively respond to the global challenges of the 21st century. And that is why I insist that for the future of higher education in Africa, we need to reimagine education, recalibrate on our curriculum, and make sure that teachers are well paid so that job motivation can become job satisfaction for them to give us the deliverables. This human capital development to produce highly educated, mobile, and adaptable workforce, engendering a multi-skilled and multi-task generation of human beings, having a preeminence of a knowledge society and a learning society that leads to lifelong learning for all, need investment in quality education. That is why the theme of this 2021 General Conference, the future of African higher education, becomes very relevant. Can you imagine this? If Africa is home to the world's oldest universities, the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in Fez in Morocco that was founded in 859, and Al-Azhar University in Egypt founded in 970 AD. Why is it that we are not dictating the pace in higher education? Why is our higher education still grossly underdeveloped and has been a low priority for the past 2 decades? What do we need to do to change the paradigm? With all our policies and our strategies, the percentage is alarming as I read. Access to higher education for the relevant age group remains at 5%. Can you imagine that? That the lowest regional average in the world, just 1/5 of the global average of about 25%. On the other hand, the demand for higher education in Africa is said to have been increasing at very high rates, and is rapidly overtaking the capacity of current infrastructure and staffing capability. Which way forward for African higher education? How do we capacitate the youth of Africa with the necessary competencies and skills if we do not have genuine investment in higher education and the political will to drive this? Because where the political will has that drive, then we can be able to convince the private sector to work with the academia. For us to be able to reimagine higher education in Africa, there is need for us to work in a tripartite way, the policymakers, the academia, and the private sector or the industry that have to use the competencies that the university produces in the kids for them to move on. It is for this reason that I applaud AAU for this timely organization of this topic, and I'm so excited with the various plenary sessions that we have and the topics and the great minds that are going to speak on this topic. But we should not become cemeteries of conferences or cemeteries of seminars. How do we activate, implement, move beyond rhetoric when we come with the conclusions that we have to achieve the goals that we want for the higher education that speaks of competencies and skills? Gentlemen and ladies of the ivory tower, I believe the onus is on us, and the onus is also on all the policymakers to drive this vision and make sure that all is well for the Africa we want by 2063. The journey begins today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Orlando Kwalimbo. I heard you saying this might be the last time you will be sitting in this position. And I also will be saying by November, I'm going to hand over this department to another commissioner. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Obrigado, shukran. And I've said obrigado, that's Portuguese. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Professor Sarah Agbor, for this enlightening speech and encouraging to the higher education in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Her Excellency Professor Agbor, for the enlightenment you have given us and the challenge that you have given us. On that note, Mr. Chair, you can see that it's already 26 minutes to the top of the hour. So with your permission, Mr. Chair, the World Bank has been supporting the highest or the largest higher education project on the continent, a $350 million project on African Centers of Excellence for the Development Project. And the person at the helm of affairs have been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. With your permission, I would like to give her a few minutes to give us her welcome or her goodwill message. The person is Dr. Ekwa Bentil. She's the manager at World Bank responsible for the project that we are implementing in Africa on the AIDS impact. Dr. Bentil, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Professor Mba and the chair. I believe it's very difficult to follow right after Madam Agbo, because that was a very passionate presentation. Thank you for that. I'll try and keep this very quick because I know everybody is tired and needs a break at this point. Honorable Minister of Education of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Yawase Duchum, the chair of this opening session, Professor Orlando Kwalimbo, Professor Hile, Secretary General of the AAU, distinguished Vice Chancellors and participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Greetings to you all from Washington, D.C. It's truly an honor to be here to give this goodwill message. The theme of this conference is truly pertinent. which is the future of African higher education. I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say Africa cannot and will not reach its potential without the deliberate investment in its human capital. Africa has no option but to invest in its current and future workforce, especially in the priority sectors, to boost and transform its economic growth and drive its digital economy. Business as usual has not worked and will not work. If nothing at all, the COVID crisis has taught us that scientific capacity is a necessity in every country, and that higher education will need to be innovative in order to meet its goal and remain relevant. Universities need to adapt and be resilient. The World Bank since 2015 to date, across a $9.8 billion US dollar portfolio, global portfolio in TVET skills and tertiary education, has about 44% of this investment in Africa. In addition to the World Bank supporting African governments through national level investments, there are two flagship regional higher education projects that I would like to highlight briefly. The first regional program, which Prof. Mbao was referring to, consists of the series of Africa Centers of Excellence projects, where the World Bank is partnering with African governments to fund more than 70 centers with close to $600 million in over 50 universities across 20 African countries to train students and improve applied research output. In this effort, since 2014, the World Bank has worked with AAU, and then since 2016 with the Inter-University Council of East Africa, both of which serve as regional facilitation units in Western Central Africa and Eastern and Southern Africa, respectively. AFD is also co-financing with the World Bank under this program. To date, over 25,000 masters and PhD students have been trained. Through the ACE projects, we have health centers that have led the COVID efforts in their countries through genomic sequencing, which we see in Nigeria, the Redeemers University, and also in Ghana, at the University of Ghana at WACBIP. There's been mass testing of the COVID virus, development of screening kits, and many more. Further, we have centers looking at sustainable mining, renewable energy, coastal resilience, ICT, dryland agriculture, innovative pedagogies of STEM education, and many more. The second initiative is the Partnership for Skills in Applied Sciences, Engineering, and Technology, PASSET, where we have worked with African governments and the Korean government to operationalize a regional scholarship and innovation fund, and the university level data effort through a benchmarking initiative. The Regional Scholarship and Innovation Fund, RSIF, is providing funding for PhD training. The key areas are in minerals, mining, and materials engineering, climate change, food security, and agribusiness, ICT, including big data and artificial intelligence, and energy. The third cohort, which was just enrolled, saw over 2,500 applicants and close to 100 students being selected for this third cohort. A final initiative aligned with this conference's theme is the World Bank's Digital Economy for Africa initiative, which aims to ensure that every individual, business, and government in Africa will be digitally enabled by 2030 in support of the African Union's digital transformation strategy for Africa. African higher education institutions have a strong role to play here as well, ensuring that a critical mass of the workforce with intermediate through advanced digital skills are trained, as these skills are needed and will be needed across all sectors within the fourth industrial revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa truly can. Africa can make a difference for its people, and our universities can drive this effort. I would like to wish everyone fruitful deliberations for the next few days and look forward to the outcome of this general conference, and hope that the recommendations will go from ideas on paper to actual implementation on the ground on the continent. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ekwa Bentil, for this long-standing cooperation with the World Bank and the AAU. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, we would like to go for health break until the top of the hour. It is now 19 minutes to the top of the hour. If you will permit, we can break now and then resume at 2 p.m. UTC or 3 p.m. Nigerian time or 4 p.m. South African time and also 5 p.m. East African time, with your permission.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come back then at the times you announced. Thank you very much. Have a nice break and we'll come back with.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The 15th AAU General Conference 2021 is kindly supported by our media partners, University World News Africa and A1 Security Print. We are grateful and thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon.